But that's cool. And yeah, so I have clicked the record button here. So hello, Barry, and thank you to have you here um, today on this podcast. I'm so happy to be here with you and to chat with you about your passion for SEO and everything that you're working on. So that's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Good to be here.
Thank you. That's cool. So just to jump right into it, what is your story when it comes to SEO and search engines? How did you start it?
Yeah, I think, well, I started in like the late 90s where we built my company, we built a lot of like websites back then. Um, and one of our clients had I guess, a professional, colleague that was interested in how search engines work. So he's like, computers very well. Can you go ahead and like give a presentation about how search engines work? So I'm like, not right now, but let me do some research. So I did some research. There wasn't a lot online. There were a few things online. There was, I think, a couple books out also. And there were some like SEO forums also. So I did a lot of research, dug into it. I was just fascinated by, how the early search engines work. Google was just starting out then. And I gave, I think it was like a 2 or 3 day course around how search engines work, around, content, links, all that type of stuff. It's similar to how search engines work today. And it kind of just stuck from there. I just loved how search works and how search was changing. And I decided when I was in the forums a lot, I saw there was so much good information from a lot of SEO personalities being shared in those forums, but they were so deep inside threads. It was hard for SEO professionals who are working every day to like find that information. So I said, wouldn't it be great if I kind of highlighted the most useful content, maybe those hidden gems, and bring them on my blog. So I started the Search Engine Roundtable, which is kind of like a roundtable of thoughts from the SEO and search marketing community to share ideas that the search marketing community was talking about. And it kind of remained that way for the past almost 20 years now, in terms of how that Search Engine Roundtable is operated.
That's cool. And so you were kind of, you know, what happened that you started there? Was there some point where you were saying, okay, this is amazing, this is cool, and you were kind of into it for real? Like it's did something
So
happen?
long ago, I don't
You
really.
yeah it did. I think for me it was like I was working with some stuff, and then suddenly I saw some rankings, and I saw something, and then I was kind of okay, this is pretty cool. uh,
Yeah, I mean, I think it was for me, it was less about the rankings. It was more about just loving how search was changing and how the search community was like just so obsessed with everything. Of course, we all have our stories about how easy it was to rank back then and make a lot of money and stuff like that from search. But what really hooked me was the constant change and how SEOs were so passionate about it. And that's really just keeping track of all those changes. And that was really what drove me towards the SEO community is the sharing of knowledge. And then obviously the rapid pace of how search changed.
so if you look at all of those changes during the years, are there something, yeah, what are, if you should focus on some bigger changes or something that you remember there, change, algorithm change or something, yeah, in this many
Early on,
years
I
of,
think the biggest change was probably like the Florida update in like 2002, I think
what, what,
2003.
what was that about? There was, I
So
think
it
there was,
wasn't really Google didn't call it the Florida update. We called it the Florida update.
okay.
It used to back in the old days. We used to name nothing was confirmed by Google. There was no real Google rep. The Google guy came on board, which has turned out to be Matt Cutts. Sharing information in the forums, and we used to name all the Google updates. Usually through Webmaster World, we used to name them. When we saw a lot of changes, we said, "Oh, there's a Google update happening." In the early days, it was just Google Dances. So before the Florida update, it was really like Google every 30 days, Google would update their index, and every 30 days it would update their page rank scores, and you would know where you would rank for the next 30 days. So it was pretty much static for 30 days, and your rankings wouldn't change for that time period. And then after that, Google used to do these updates randomly because it was more real time and so forth. And it was every few months or so, like even like it is now, but Google wouldn't confirm anything. So the first big update was this Florida update, which Google's like, oh, it's the end of SEOs were like, it's the end of SEO. Google got us. It's no longer used to rank, and you go through these updates every few months now. But that was what we called it back in the old days. Was that first update was like the Florida update, which Google didn't confirm or anything, but you know.
But and I think Google has died many times. Like this Google is dying again. Like it's people are talking about all of that all the time when there are a big change. And but if you go up here for maybe the last 3, 4, 5 years, what are the biggest changes and challenges here as you see it?
Yeah, in the past, I mean, couple of years, maybe in the past, 6 months, is the AI stuff. Everybody's
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about AI and how AI is going to kill stuff. It's interesting to see that, like, the usage of AI for consumers, like ChatGPT, Bing Chat, even like Google Bard and SGE, seems to be slowly declining. But yeah, AI is going to be, has always been a very important part of how search works. Google's used AI significantly in featured snippets and a lot of their other features. So it's not uncommon for Google and search engines to use AI. I know Microsoft Bing has been saying AI, like 90% of their algorithm is, powered by AI. And that was like probably like 5 years ago. So AI has always been important, but now everybody's using like generative AI. And how is that going to change not just search, but how SEOs do their work to generate content, do analysis? People are throwing in SEMrush or SEMrush data into ChatGPT to say, analyze this for me to come up with better ideas. So AI is changing like every workspace for the most part, including SEO, and it's another tool that SEOs could use, and it's another tool that search engines could use to make things easier for them, searchers on a day-to-day basis, to make it easier for them to answer questions, and to make it easier for people who are doing their job to do their job on a more efficient basis. So AI is probably going to be the most significant change right now, and probably will be more significant changes going forward for the next foreseeable future.
yeah. It's I think there's also a lot of people out there, SEOs and businesses, who has a lot of fear when it comes to all this AI now and this hype and everything. Do you have any recommendations on how to manage this this process and what to do now, and also with your experience and all the algorithm changes during the years, and what should you do in the middle of it now?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's funny because SEOs are really good at adapting to change, but yet they're also very loud when there's change. Like it's fear and scared. I've been doing this for so long that, the only way to be an SEO is, and to be in the SEO community, is to love change. And I'm kind of surprised and annoyed that some SEOs are like, this is going to kill everything. You have to take the attitude of, all right, AI is here. It might change the search results in a big way. It might change how I do my job, but you have to go ahead and be the first to adopt it, see how it works, make mistakes early. This way, when you're going ahead and down your path, you could actually go ahead and say, I made money from this. I got better because of AI. I'm using this to my advantage as opposed to it actually destroying me. So use it as something that you could actually, get on the bandwagon, use it and use it to your advantage as opposed to trying to just scream about it and be afraid of it. Because honestly, it's going to do a lot of good as well. And if you could see the good side of it, I think you'll benefit from it in the long run.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think you're absolutely right. It when if you focus on okay, more specifically on content generation using AI, do you have any recommendations on how to approach content generation when it comes to SEO, or how to use that as an advantage?
Yeah, so it's funny and scary that a lot of Google tends to be ranking a lot of AI content um, in the search results. I don't know if it's ranking well. It's kind of annoying because you want really quality written content to rank well, and you can detect this AI content. So I would think in the long run, I know Google's stance is it doesn't make a difference. They don't care who writes the content as long as the content's helpful and useful, and read their helpful content guidelines. But they also say, the who, what, where, like who's writing the content, where they're writing it, why they're writing it. And it's hard for the AI to have the experience and stuff around that topic that they're writing about. So I think when it comes to long-term strategy around content development is, yeah, sure, use the AI to help you write that content, but don't let it take away from how you would actually write that content. So I've tried write a lot of content, as you know, and I've tried using it to make my stories better, but it takes all of my I guess, personality out of the way I write. And I don't like that. It fluffs it up. It makes it a little bit more dense. And my readers like to read stuff right to the point, not waste their time, and just get to the nuts and bolts right away and move on. I think AI generally tends to waste a lot of people's time, especially when it generates content, to fluff it up and so forth. Definitely use it for like content ideas, but I wouldn't let AI write the content and just hit publish and let it go from there. Just use it as a tool, not as something that is, taking over your job per se.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's yeah, some very good recommendations. Yeah, I like that. It's if it's just yeah. And another question I also have for you here is that, are there something when it comes to SEO and all of this here, something that you would like people to focus more on, something that you kind of say again and again that people should focus on, and you think they're not focusing that a lot about? Something, a good recommendation there on something, yeah, we could
Yeah, I
do
mean, I think
to, yeah.
people in the SEO space are just way too in the weeds. I mean, weeds are important, yes, but focusing on little things here and there isn't going to make your content better. It's really about, how can I write the best content? How can I make the best type of website? It sounds corny. Google's been saying that for 20 years, but ultimately, you want the search engines, so like the people who are writing the algorithms at the search engines, to look at your website and say, why does this website not rank well? It is doing everything the best in this class. What can we do to change our algorithms to go ahead and make sure that this website ranks well? It sounds corny, but again, Google will get there. So, always focusing on specific ranking factors. It's sometimes a bit too much. Like Core Web Vitals launched, they just recently are changing FID to INP. Should you go ahead and spend all this time on INP? I don't think it's, these things don't really matter too much. If your site's a fraction of a second slower, it's really not going to matter that much if your content is much more relevant and more on topic for your users. So it's corny to say, but I think ultimately the best way to utilize your resources, budgets, and spend your time is to look for ways to make your content better, not look for ways to like do small little SEO tricks to improve your, Core Web Vitals, or, add certain types of links to certain places, stuff like that. Those things don't matter as much as they used to in the old days. It was very easy to make anything rank well with links. Now it's really, really about the content. And it's not good enough to have mediocre content. You really have to have the best type of content.
And that's actually, I think, also a very good approach right now when you you have all those opportunities. Just hit the AI button and mass produce a mediocre content, right? So yeah, that's so nice. Yeah, it's if we look at just some of the last changes here, the last year, some algorithm updates or something. Are there something important here? Some important recommendations based on are there any tips and tricks there you could share? Of course, there are the smaller things, and you also report a lot of them. I'm actually amazed that you publish so many great tips on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, so I cover all the small things, and the small things, if you look at where the small things are all leading towards, I mean, I can write about, I write like 5-10 stories a day. Where do they all go towards? And it goes back to the content. It all leads back to the content. How can you make your content better? From, the core algorithm updates to the helpful content update to reviews update. It all is about content. It's not about necessarily links. It's not about, how, small or your images are per se. It's not about, do you have the right structured data on the page? All these little things definitely help. And often, making your images better and more relevant does help, but it has to be useful for that user. If you're making an image just to make it look pretty, it's not going to really matter. It has to be very useful. That's one case where I'm actually using a lot of AI in my content, is by making really cool images that are very, very relevant for the stories that I'm writing about. So I don't know, to have, when Google writes about, I don't know, some type of new robots control for content, I can make an image of a robot sitting on a park bench reading a news article. And you can't do that anywhere else. And it's relevant, it's fun, and it's useful. So it's really, really about, all comes back, all these small little things, it's all goes back to, is the content useful for the user? Are the users going to be happy reading that content? Are they happy with the user experience on your website? So it really comes back to making the really best type of website with the best type of content. And sometimes that means producing new content. Sometimes that means updating old content. But again, it's all about the content. And I know it's kind of boring not to have like sort of meta tag that you can add to say rank me number one, but it just doesn't work that way. And any of the tricks and stuff that you can go ahead and implement today probably won't work by the time people are listening to this anyway. So
there's no little magic bullet, right? It's all about this perspective.
No,
creating...
I mean, in the old days, there were magic bullets that worked
yeah.
for a longer period of time. It was able to rank for a pretty long time. I don't know, months, maybe sometimes years. But it just doesn't work that way anymore. It's not that simple.
No. It isn't. But that's also what makes it. Yeah, it's harder now, and but it's also amazing with change. So that's It's if we so it's all about this quality content, and so all the small changes, they're leading back to this creating helpful content, and all of that talk. So you see this pattern of all the small changes that they're all part of.
I mean, 100%. If you look at every single update Google has done in the past, almost every single update Google has done in the past 20 years, it all focuses around ranking the best and most relevant content for the users. Google doesn't want to rank stuff that's tricking users or tricking search engines. They don't want low quality stuff there. Anything from Panda, Penguin, all the core updates, Medic update, you name them, everything unconfirmed, confirmed. It's all about Google trying to make the most relevant and useful piece of content to rank higher. Tips and tricks to do that? No, if there's ways and loopholes around it, Google will plug those. It might last. I know there was the Conch SEO Conch House website that tricked Google for a month or two, made a lot of money, and then was shut down. I mean, again, you can make a lot of money really fast, but it won't last, and you have to find something new. So do some long-term strategies that last for a long time. You become an expert in the field, whatever field you're writing about. You might get on some news channels. You might get quoted by certain major publications. All that stuff helps and helps you raise money and from diverse sources as well. So just do it the right way. I think ultimately you'll be happy with that decision in the long run.
If we look at Google's challenge, there had always been always been a lot of spammy content and a lot of spam they should tackle and try to avoid. But I think this window to the internet will even probably more spam now when people can generate masses of spam. Google has a huge challenge there. Do you think they're doing a good job still keeping the content good or yeah?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, I think I see more spam or different types of spam. I see it all the time. But I think overall the search results are much better, much more relevant than they used to be 20 years ago. 20 years ago, you could literally rank for anything, even if it's not relevant. So you could go ahead and have Disney cartoons ranking for the most ugliest and horrible things in the world. That doesn't really tend to work these days. So, but yet you see a lot of low quality content still ranking very well, even though Google's saying it doesn't or shouldn't. I think Google's still working towards these things and so forth. So we'll see. The AI stuff is pretty interesting how fast it's adapting as well, but it seems to be growing a little bit less. So I think, I think there's more spam out there, but Google has done a tremendous job. They have teams devoted just to multiple layers of spam, and they've removed so much spam over the years. So it's not like they're new to this. They've been focusing on this for over 20 years. So they don't seem to be concerned with AI and how that might generate a tremendous amount of spam or generate a tremendous amount of low quality content. They think they have no problem handling it. And I'm sure there'll be more cases of sites that get through those filters and through those quality checks. And then Google will have to plug those things going forward. So I don't think that Google's concerned about it. Of course, I see examples. Everybody sees example every day. But that's the nature of this cat and mouse game between spammers and search engines.
Here at SEO.ai, we are tool builders, and we are fascinated by using tools and trying SEO tools. And are there any tools that you would recommend people to use when it comes to SEO? Do you have some favorite tools? Or yeah,
I don't use many SEO tools at all. I obviously use Google Search Console, Webmaster Tools. I check out SEMrush here and there. I do the tracking tools, of course, just to see what's going on with the search results at an aggregate level. Um, I use like a lot of content types of tools, like for tracking content. Like I use RSS big time, Feedly. I used to use Google Reader before it closed down a lot, and blog lines before that. So I'm a big content consumer. The biggest tool for my SEO toolkit is making sure I'm aware of what's going on in my industry so that I can write about it and understand it before most people, which is why I'm one of the first people to write about most things in a somewhat useful way. So I think the best tools for any SEO, especially in the content SEO space, is to be able to track the topics that are most interesting to you and be able to write about it in an authoritative way. There's obviously technical SEO stuff that you could do, and a lot of the debugging tools are out there to help you debug those things from Search Console, Bing Webmaster Tools, you name it, Ahrefs, SEMrush. There's an unlimited number of SEO tools out there, which I don't want to name all of them. But whatever, I mean, I assume a lot of them do the similar things. So whatever you're accustomed to is probably fine. And obviously keep experimenting with other tools because, it's fun. So
you also made mentioning a tool you use to create images and stuff, and you were playing around with those AI images there.
yeah, so I use Midjourney. I don't use like the Bing image creator. I use Midjourney. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
I've been using it for probably a few months now, and I still get compliments every day on the images. So it's pretty amazing what it creates. So and it's fun. So
yeah, it's fun. It's funny to play with, and I also actually some of the first time I just saw those images. It's kind of it's crazy to just look at where we are now with all of this and just look 1 year back. I think it's it's crazy.
yeah, and that's why I love this space. It's changing so fast. So great to
It
try new
is.
things and play with new things.
It is. Very. Thank you so much for being here today and having this chat with me here. It was amazing to have this talk. So yeah, thanks a lot. If there were someone, if you should suggest another global SEO frontrunner, someone we should reach out to, would you recommend any there to follow or talk to?
I could definitely recommend a bunch of people. I don't want to name anybody specifically, but I could definitely share it to you with you after. Or every newsletter I publish every day has articles, new daily articles from different SEO personalities that are published across the web, as well as pretty good tweets from people that are publishing stuff on Twitter. So I'm constantly sharing new content from people across the SEO community on a daily basis in my newsletter. So you can definitely check those out because every day there's something new there, like a lot of new stuff.
Thank you so much, and yeah, thank you, and take care.
Thank you for having me.